It was the end of February in Seattle when I decided to brave the cold and wet and go on another adventure. I chose the Olympic Adventure Trail, which provides over 23 miles of smooth single track and not too much elevation. The trail begins outside of Port Angeles and traverses a couple of ridgelines. It then cuts between the hills to bring you to the shores of beautiful Lake Crescent, which is where I camped for the evening. You'll have noticed that I took a slightly different way back. More on that later. So this is like mile point, I think, 18? So I have about 5 more miles to go on the single track. Weather's been kind of up and down. It's kind of sunny right now. You can see a little sunburst, a little blue sky. But definitely hailed and snowed there for a bit, which is a bit unexpected. Once I get into some light here, I'll show you how dirty I got. Well, let's look at that. Oh yeah. And here's the bike. Dirty as all get out. I look comfortable in all my layers, but actually I was getting pretty cold. Almost all the single track sits on a north-facing slope and is constantly in the shade, so the only way to stay warm was to keep moving. I paused for a minute at the bridge over the Devil's Punch Bowl and then continued down the Spruce Railroad Trail. I camped at a day-use area beside Lake Crescent and had this cool dock all to myself. I must have boiled 4 pots of water in an effort to stay warm. I went to my tent once it got dark and hoped for a comfortable night. Good morning. It's already 8 a.m. Slept pretty well last night, but it was pretty cold. Wore all of my clothing just to stay warm in the sleeping bag. Let's go see what the day looks like. Morning. Cheers. So this trip being an out and back by nature, today we'll just be going backwards. I am going to try and sample some of the single track. There's some snatches of more difficult, more fun single track along the side of the Olympic Adventure Trail. So hopefully I'll get some good clips of that and I won't crash or get in over my head. I'm certainly capable of riding a Black Diamond Trail, but this bike loaded down can kind of be a handful sometimes on stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes. this is turning into quite the hike-a-bike. Hopefully it's worth it. I guess we'll see. That was more than I bargained on. That was like an hour climbing. Pretty out of breath, had to push my bike a lot because my legs were just gassed. Could not pedal anymore. But we're at the top, kind of where these cell phone towers are. And the trail is right there. And it should be mostly downhill, or it's going to be all downhill obviously. But by the time we get to the bottom, it'll be a mile or two of pretty flat oat trail. And back to the car. As you can see, the chest-mounted GoPro doesn't yield the best results. I'm hoping to upgrade the camera in the future, which should help. This was a proper enduro trail, and it was pretty challenging on a loaded hardtail. I crashed once on a greasy log, but mostly I just rode the brakes the whole way down. Once I was back on the oat, things were much more smooth. Point one. Here we go. All right, this is the last stretch before the car. Don't be silly, I'm still gonna send it though. Almost as soon as I got back to my car, it began to pour rain, so I chucked everything in the trunk and sped off to get some Safeway sushi on my way to the ferry. So there you go. I think I spent less than 30 hours outside total, but it was so worth it. Check out the links in the description if you want to learn more about the route. Thanks for watching. See you on the next adventure.